On Central News tonight, just how many New Zealanders are in favour of smoke-free cars, how dire is the water situation in the Waikato, and more on the Hamilton Garden Arts Festival. Kia ora and welcome to Central News on TV Central for Thursday the 19th of February. I'm Amanda Harper. Magic and humour is being used to deliver important social messages to Kiwi kids in schools about anti-bullying. Magician Al Grego, otherwise known as Greg Britt, took the Trustpower-supported You Got the Power show to Arataki School in the Mount and Gate Pass School today, and will carry on his visit tomorrow at Fairhaven School and Te Ranga School in Te Puke. He has performed to over 800,000 students across New Zealand, and Trustpower Community Relations Coordinator Susie Luff says Al Grego has a unique ability to deliver an important message in an upbeat way. A leading advocacy group has revealed that over 90% of New Zealanders are in favour of smoke-free cars. Figures released by Action on Smoking and Health, ASH, suggest that concerns voiced by the public further emphasise the importance of a continued commitment to a smoke-free Aotearoa by 2025. ASH insists over 100,000 children are exposed to second-hand smoking in cars in New Zealand, and a UMR Omnibus survey carried out in 2014 has shown that 91% of people want smoke-free cars, including 82% of smokers. ASH spokesperson Stephanie Eric says the public are saying that they are concerned for our children's health. Worthy performances on the water have seen a strong contingent of Bay of Plenty paddlers added to New Zealand's canoe slalom teams for 5 World Cup events and the Rio Olympics qualification competition. Top paddlers such as Luca Jones in the K1 woman and K1 male competitor Mike Dawson are named after significant results in the last 12 months, which puts them within reach of the medals. Canoe Slalom New Zealand National Performance Manager Sue Clark says Mike Dawson and Luca Jones are our top paddlers, and with HPS NZ support and coach Campbell Walsh, Canoe Slalom New Zealand has great hopes for them this year. 2 new reports on nutrients that can support algal growth in the Waikato and Waipa rivers indicate some potentially positive developments for protecting and restoring water quality in the region. The information, presented to a recent meeting of Waikato Regional Council's Environmental Performance Committee, will be looked at by the Healthy Rivers Plan for Change Waiora He Rautaki Whakapaipai project, which is considering a regional plan change to better protect water quality in the rivers. The reports focus on the nutrients nitrogen and phosphorus that can stimulate algal growth, which causes water clarity to decline, interferes with aquatic life, and can stimulate unsightly, potentially toxic algal blooms. And now for our region's weather. Hamilton, expect fine spells with light winds tomorrow, high of 28 and low of 13. The rest of the Waikato, fine spells, light winds and some evening showers in parts of the Waikato. Pairo, your high is 27 and low of 15. Matamata, 25 and 14. Te Awamutu, 28 and 13. Tokoroa, 26 and a low of 13. Over in the Bay of Plenty, Tauranga, you'll be sunny with sea breezes. Your high is 27 and low of 15. For the rest of the bay, fine with light winds and sea breezes. Te Puke, your high is 25 and low of 14. Looking to the marine forecast now, West Coast Raglan easing Friday morning, variable of 10 knots. High tide is at 6:51 p.m. East Coast in the Bay of Plenty easing Friday morning, variable of 10 knots. High tide at 3:07 p.m. Welcome back to Central News. Hamilton City Council reconvened a December meeting last week where they discussed the final points of the 2015-2025 draft long-term plan. Anne-Marie spoke with Mayor Julie Haraka to find out the outcome of that meeting.
Yeah, so we've been in budget discussions and analysing stuff for the last 6 months or so. Big infrastructure challenges for the city because we're growing so fast. So maintaining the things we've got and investing in new subdivisions has been a big topic of debate. So look, where we've landed on the draft, and we've still got a couple of meetings to go before we finalise it for the public to have a good look at. But essentially we're keeping the rates the same as we have for the last 3 years, 3.8% each year. That's unchanged. We're still going to balance our books by 2016. You know, we've been operating an overdraft for a while and we've been trying to get ourselves back up. So we're going to be still on our balance books by 2016, which is a really important thing for the city because it changes the whole way we can manage the budget. And the other issue, of course, is we're very focused on the debt and how we manage that. So this year what we've done is we've got our debt track on our debt to revenue ratio, and we aim to be 200%, and that's kind of where we need to be all the time. So we've been tracking towards that. We've shifted that out 2 years to enable us to pay for some much needed infrastructure in the city. So I think we've landed in a really good space. We've also, about 90% of the capital budget is infrastructure and maintaining the assets we've got, which are predominantly water, a lot of investment in water and wastewater. So, the things that keep the city going that really aren't that interesting to talk about, but absolutely essential. And then we've also looked at investing in, of course, some of the things that are really important to our community. Keeping the playgrounds program going, which has been a huge success, with our playground, the lake that we just opened. So keeping our finger on that, also making sure we continue to invest in the green spaces and the sports areas that are important to the city as well. So I think there's a good balance, but certainly a big focus on infrastructure investment and growth.
The Founders Theatre has been pinpointed as in dire need of help and restoration. Tell me what's going to happen.
Yeah, I did make a comment that, we've still got no hot water in the toilets at Founders Theatre, which seems incredible in the century we're living in, but that's the state of it. So we've allowed a provision in the budget, and the back end of the 10-year budget, 13 or so million, to do some major upgrades at Founders Theatre. But in the meantime, over the next year, we'll be doing a detailed business case and analysis of exactly where the spend needs to be and exactly what it is that we will be doing, how much we'll be investing in particular parts. But essentially, the Fly Tower, which holds all the props and is over the stage for all the productions, that is where the major spend is. And that's, of course, essential to enable productions of a certain type to continue to go at Founders. So at the moment, that Fly Tower's the original Fly Tower. It's had some upgrades along the way, but it's essentially the original Fly Tower when the theatre was built 50 years ago. So well in need of upgrade. So that we'll also be looking at the stage setup. With the Fly Tower. We want to work out what size Fly Tower is what we need for the future. And there's also some provision in that 13 or so million to look at some other upgrades around the front of the theatre, when you walk into Founders Theatre and what the offering for the public is, and of course an upgrade to the toilets. So the detailed business case will come back in the next year, and that will tell us the real details and where we need to put most of the money.
The Founders Theatre is such a well-loved theatre. Was there ever any discussion just to sell it off and let it go?
Look, we did a theatres review, as you know, about 18 months ago, and that put forward a couple of options. And, it was interesting to get the public feedback about that. The theatre is well loved, but there were a portion of the community that said, look, let's start again. But I think for the council, we recognised, a lot of investment has gone into Founders Theatre. The option not to invest in it would mean a new theatre, and that's just, it's not warranted in a city, I think, our size. So we wanted to make sure that Founders was brought up to the standard it should be. And we've got a real focus on the arts sector. Over the last year, we've been really looking closely at how we manage the theatres across the city. We've gifted a couple of the theatres over to trusts to enable the theatre community and the performance community to run them, which I think has been a great initiative and welcomed by the communities. But this is our premier theatre in the city, and we need to maintain it at that standard.
Mayor Julie, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
For more information on the draft long-term plan, go to www.hamilton.gov.nz. In our next story, if you've been lucky enough to spend time at the beach this summer, you will be grateful for the sun and dry weather we've been experiencing. However, spare a thought for those who make a living off the land. There is such a thing as too much sun. Anne-Marie spoke with Waikato Regional Council Chairperson Paula Southgate, who gave an update on the water levels and the situation at the moment.
Well, you're quite right. It's been very dry and very hot and very windy, and all of those things lead to loss of moisture in the soil. The good news is that compared to last year, there's a little bit more moisture left in the soil. That's been helped by a little bit of light recent rain. True to say that the rivers are still low, even though we are expecting some more significant rain shortly. But the situation isn't dire in respect to the farmers are coping with these dry situations. Not as bad as last year, but not comfortable. We haven't declared a drought. It's up to the government to decide when a drought will be declared, and they will declare that when they believe the farmers need some financial support and relief from government. At this stage, the view of government is that farmers seem to be coping quite well. Yes, it is a struggle to manage the limited water supplies. In our area, there are some restrictions on irrigation, especially in the Waiho-Piako catchment. Hauraki, Piako are the driest areas, suffice to say, and they're looking forward to some decent rain. But the Rural Support Network has assured us that farmers are okay at this point in time. So we're watching, we're praying for rain with everyone else.
What is the criteria to declare a drought?
Well, it is at the point where farmers need to have some support from government. So we don't determine that the Minister for Primary Industries will make that call if there is a national drought. We will keep in touch with him and our rural communities, and if they come to us and they're clearly in distress and they're unable to sustain their business without some intervention from government, we'll be making calls on their behalf to talk with the Minister.
You mentioned Hauraki and Piako as being quite dry. Are there other certain areas that are drier than the others?
Those are the driest in our region at the moment. As I say, luckily there is a little bit of more moisture in the soil than there was at the same time last year when it was dry as a bone. So that's better. It's not, as I say, comfortable, but it's better.
What are water levels like around the region?
They're all pretty low. The last little drop of rain did help, especially through the major river catchments. But no, suffice to say, they're not at the level where we would like them to be. But the Met Service assure us some rain's on the way.
Tell me about the Waikato story. What is that?
Yeah, well, that's a very exciting piece of work we're involved in at the moment. It's a chapter of the New Zealand story. Now, the New Zealand government launched the New Zealand story to promote New Zealand's opportunity in the international market. The Waikato story is telling our collective story about why we are the best region to come live, work and play. It's about living and thriving, it's about learning and education, it's about investment and many other things besides. And we think we are an awesome region with a lot of potential for economic growth, with a lot of potential to be a really great place to live. And the Waikato story is the way that we tell that to everyone so we can attract that kind of positive growth.
What form does the Waikato story come in? Is it a book or a report?
It's web-based. So it basically will be like a drop-down chapter from the New Zealand story, which you can find online. And you'll be able to drill into various topics from there. Like, for example, education. Where would you learn? Where are the education opportunities in the Waikato? Housing opportunities, investment opportunities, all those kind of things. Cultural opportunities, environmental assets that we have. You can find those by going in the various parts of the story. Local councils can add their story to that over time. So it'll be basically like a pyramid with a New Zealand story at the top, Waikato being the first major chapter, and then the local stories coming out of that. So yeah, it's a very exciting piece of work, because unless we start talking with one voice, we're not going to harness all those opportunities that actually do exist. Waikato is a fantastic place, and it's got a lot to offer, and we need to start selling that proposition.
For more details on the Waikato story, go to waikatoregion.gov.nz. Coming up next, Have Your Say, the new phone app. Welcome back to Central News on TV Central. Designed to put the power back in your hands, the Have Your Say app, launched by Family First, allows you to communicate directly with your local MP.
Well, basically, we felt that often people complain that politicians aren't listening to us, and so we thought it was important that families were able to get in contact with politicians in an easy way, but in a way that politicians would appreciate being contacted, and that's usually email. And so what we've done is created an app where as simply as going to your mobile phone, your iPhone or your Android, you go to our phone app, Have Your Say. It can find who your local MP is, or you can contact all of them, or certain ones that you want to speak to, and a couple of pushes sets up your email for you on your phone. Write your email, there it is, you've contacted them and they've had your say.
What was the reaction from members of Parliament? Were they okay with this?
Well, I think they're used to, when there's campaigns going on, that they are going to receive feedback from their electorate and from members of the public in general. So it's using a method of contact for politicians. But look, I think when you talk to most families, they say, oh, the politicians aren't listening. Look, why don't they listen to what I'm saying? And people often don't know, well, how do I contact them? What's their email address, etc. So this is just a really easy way. It's free. And look, you can be hot under the collar about something. You can just do it very quickly and simply, and we encourage respectfully, and just engage with politicians. And we find that most of them reply in some way, and it's a good method of communication.
What's been the feedback from MPs?
Well, it's been a pretty new one. You know, look, sometimes when campaigns get going and they get swamped with emails, well, if you're agreeing with them, they like it because they hear their phone buzzing as all these emails are coming in. But of course, if you're challenging them, they're not so happy. But look, I think in democracy, it's important that politicians hear from people. You can't always get the appointment at the electorate office. You can't always get the ear of the Prime Minister. You can't always get the ear of ministers of certain, areas that you want to contact. But this just means that you are instantly given a contact detail, and you can send an email. And look, it may not be read by them, but it will certainly be read by the office, and the politicians will hear the general sentiment of the community. So, yeah, we'd encourage families to use it, especially if they're passionate about certain issues in their local area.
Well, it's the way of the future, really, isn't it? That's what I like about this. It's kind of bringing democracy into the future.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of people are on iPads, are on their smartphones, and it's the simplicity of it, and it takes away that whole, how do I contact my local MP just to let them know what I think? This is just a couple of taps on a smartphone, write your quick message and engage with them, and I think that's good for our elected representatives to have that type of feedback. Maybe we should introduce an app for local councils as well. So you've got me thinking now.
Oh, I don't know about that. I think you would. I think certain phones might explode. But so, are you finding that families were coming to you and saying, "I don't feel like I have a say in my local central government anymore"?
Yeah, I think it's the what do I do and how do I do it. That's the most common thing that we get, and for Family First, when we set up, we wanted to empower families to speak up. It wasn't about us necessarily, it was about families speaking up. So this is a simple way, a free way. It's that ease of access, but it also helps families know just how easy it can be. And look, I think our silence is part of the problem. We need to be more vocal, we need to make our view heard. Unfortunately, we think the only time we can speak up is every third year when we go to the polling booth. But no, it's much more than that. We've got each issue, and if it's an important local issue that you're passionate about, we need to put our feedback in. So simple, free, easy.
Have Your Say is available for download on Apple and Android. Visit haveyoursay.org.nz. The Hamilton Gardens Arts Festival is underway in Hamilton at the moment with a plethora of entertainment for festival goers. Anne-Marie spoke with festival director Bex Chambers about the entertainment that would appeal to children and families.
Well, if you could pinpoint one, you'd pinpoint the Teddy Bears Picnic, obviously. We've got Mr. Rob O'Reilly visiting us, and there's all sorts of things going on at the Teddy Bears Picnic. There's free buses on for families to come to the gardens and enjoy. There's all sorts of other theatre things going on, like the Awesome Adventures of Modern Maui and Jack and the Beanstalk, and there's Barbarian production of Dress Up Jam. So there's all sorts of things for children. So yeah, it'll be very exciting.
Tell me about the Music Under the Stars with Dame Malvina Major.
Oh, well, I'm really looking forward to that concert. So basically, Dame Malvina Major is showcasing some of her best students. And I think it will be a really special concert, and obviously it's on the Rhododendron Lawn. It's a beautiful venue. It will be a beautiful weather, I hope, and yeah, I'm really excited about that. Just seeing the up and coming stars of tomorrow, really, future of the festival.
That is the one event that's not going to be, or one of the events that's not going to be BYO.
Potentially, yeah.
One of New Zealand's hottest young theatre companies performed 2 shows as well. Yeah. Tell me about Binge Culture Collective.
Binge Culture Collective, well, they are doing 2 really interesting things. They're doing a show called Whales, which is basically a staging of a whale stranding. So we're partnering with the regional council as well, who are supporting us stage this whale stranding. So we've asked for volunteers to come forward to be whales as part of the show. So it's an interactive performance, and it's really exciting. I can't wait to see what's going to happen. It's it's audience participation, and they just get people involved, and it's important for people to know what happens if whales do get stranded and what to do and all that sort of stuff. So that's really exciting. Yeah.
And Backyard Beats sounds like quite an appealing afternoon, and it's not just music that will be on offer there either, is it?
No, so we've got, we're kind of focusing, I think this year in particularly around New Zealand, there's been lots of kind of craft beer and street food and vintage kind of festivals. So to us, it's like a mini festival within our festival. We have got so much music on offer throughout the day that you don't want to just expect people to sit there and listen to the music. Like, the music's awesome, but you're also able to have a chat with your friends and experience really cool street food, and taste a few different beers, not just have the same old beer all evening or all day with the same taste. Like, we're just trying to get people to experiment and have a really good afternoon.
The Hamilton Gardens Arts Festival runs until February the 26th. For more details, go to hgaf.co.nz. That is Central News for today. If you would like to get in touch with us, you can via our Facebook page, centralnews.tv, or email us at news@tvcentral.co.nz. Join me again tomorrow night for more stories from the Waikato and the Bay of Plenty. I'm Amanda Harper. Paul Marie.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.